How's it going, everyone? In today's video, I will be going over the custom Heartbreaker Buckshot figure that I made using the already existing Buckshot figure that I had. And as you can see here, I took off his arrow immediately, and that was like the first step of the process. I actually followed the Skylander Dude's video on how to make a Heartbreaker Buckshot, so make sure to go check that out. He is very talented at making customs. And as you can see here, I cut out the NFC of my existing Buckshot figure by just cutting in the bottom. So here's the brown paint, red paint, and the white paint that I had got. And then you had the glue that I used to glue the figure back, or the arrow back on. And then you have the paint brushes. And then also you have the clear arrow that I was able to take off, which I was actually able to get this arrow off with a hair dryer, and it worked pretty well. And unfortunately, as you can see here, there's already progress done. So unfortunately, I deleted probably 3 to 4 hours of footage that I marked down to like 9 minutes. And I already edited it, and it was ready. And unfortunately, all of that, I started out with the maroon hooves and went to the pink of the Heartbreaker figure with the arrow and the body, which I lost all of that footage. So we're starting right here with the cross and like the outside pattern on his wrists. And I love the way the black and the pink looks on this figure. It honestly looks really cool. I could keep it like this, but we are trying to make this figure as accurate as possible. So just making sure to get that touch up as beautiful as it can. I love this figure. I'll say that later on, but yeah, just making sure to get that pink as solid as it can. And now I'm onto that white. Just making sure to get the white on the horns there, and making sure the white doesn't have black bleeding through. So as you can see, I'm touching up the black pants again. I'm not including every single clip for this video. I feel like that would just be honestly 30 minutes of me painting, and I do love talking, but not that much. So but yeah, working on the horns right now, just making sure to get that solid color. We'll talk about it later, but a Heartbreaker Buckshot figure was released 2 days, like an official figure for the first time was released 2 days after I finished this custom, and it was a little different than what the Skylander Dude had finished. We'll talk about that later, like I said, but yeah, just working a little more on the white of the arms there. I enjoyed these parts just because like the arms, like painting it white was just so much larger than like painting the nose or painting the eyes, for example, where like you have room for error that like is pretty easy to fix, where like other areas not that easy. Because I mean, I can just paint over his like wrist, as you can see, like arm to wrist, it's all white, where like I'm kind of surprised they did that with a Heartbreaker figure. But I had a lot of troubles with the pink at first. One thing I didn't talk about earlier was that was lost in the files is I had a different pink that I had painted at first, and that pink was a lot darker. I've noticed some SkyTubers, actually including the Skylander Dude, but some other content creators have made too dark of a pink with Heartbreaker figure, and it's very difficult because it's a very light pink. And when you're painting it at first, it looks fine, but then when it dries, it's a lot darker than you expect. So just go as light as possible is my advice. Obviously, I am not a professional like some other custom Skylander YouTubers are, like Taylor Create, the Skylander Dude. This is technically the second custom I've ever made. I will show later in the video my very first custom that I made in 2013. And just the difference is a little bit better on this one. I still have a lot of work to do, and I would love if this video does well to do more customs in the future. But as you can see here, we're making a light red color for his wrists. So I don't know if you guys have seen the Heartbreaker figure in game before, but instead of that black on his gloves, on his fists, it is that like red, that really light red color. But unfortunately, as we'll see later on, when I'm painting this, it's all going well, but unfortunately some of that red was not sticking well to the underneath the black. The black was bleeding heavily, which I thought was weird, that the black was bleeding more with that red than it was for the pink. So unfortunately I did paint over like right here over the pink a little bit, and I kind of realized that I will need to do over that pink part. it was a very difficult experience because, I mean, I'm not used to doing those customs, and Heartbreaker obviously isn't very easy compared to some others. I mean, just the details in Sensei figures are a lot more than they were, let's say, in SSA figures. And on top of it, just being able to cut, I had to use an oscillator to cut through the bottom of the figure, and I cut right through the NFC. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to preserve the Heartbreaker NFC that I previously had. But it's really, I mean, I know there's a way with emulation, or there's a way to like edit Skylanders. So my guess at first was like, you know, I'm going to alter the NFC and like turn it off basically so it doesn't work, and then put the NFC card that I had over the figure. But unfortunately, with the Imaginators and the Senseis, apparently there's, I don't know if it's like a jailbreak, but it just corrupts the NFC immediately when you try to edit it. And obviously a corrupt NFC still would get in the way of the Heartbreaker reading below the figure that I had. So as you can see here, I'm painting, I'm starting the, I forget, this is like the second, I believe this is the second layer for the red strap on the shoulder. I love how this red turned out. I think it really worked out here. Getting more of my hand, not the figure. Okay, there we go. But yeah, I really loved how the colors turned out, and I think that was the best part of this custom. And like I said, I really enjoyed this process. And it's really such a shame that this variant got canceled, just because it's like, it is such a pretty variant. And maybe I'm a little biased, but I think this probably is the prettiest variant that is in the Skylanders Imaginators. So here's a picture of me trying to dye the red arrow. Unfortunately, I thought I got a synthetic red dye. It actually was like a multi-purpose red dye, which I thought would be fine, but unfortunately it was not sticking. As you can see here, I tried to put it in the freezer for it to stick, and it just did not work. So it worked a little bit, it did stain a little bit, but you'll see what I ended up having to do later. But yeah, you see that red that we're going to be using. I put a little bit of white in it for the eyes of Heartbreaker Buckshot, which I had to be very careful with. So you see me mixing it there. I mean, it's just so small, so as you can see, like, I skipped a little bit because I was so focused, and not a great camera angle right now, but you can see it showing up really well. But unfortunately, I was dealing with the pink like blending in with the red eyes, and like the pink getting in the way, and then I get a little bit of red on the pink. Just trying to fix that overall was difficult. As you can see here, I'm doing a little bit of white touch up as we speak. Overall, I love the fact that I was able to keep the gold belt really safe from paint. A lot of these people that do customs, like the Skylander dude, took apart every single part of Buckshot figure. So it was easy to paint each separate section, where like I did not want to do that step. So just trying to make sure I didn't mess up the paint. Like my hands were killing me by the end of the 2 days that I worked on this. And my back too, because I had horrible back posture. As you can see, I'm fixing the pink over the red. Like I said before, I realized that the pink that I did was getting ruined when I put the red over it. It was kind of hard because like I said, I had to put multiple layers of that red, so I gave it a few hours for it to dry and then put this pink over there. So I think right now it's looking really good. So there we have it. I actually installed the red arrow. I painted over it a little bit with the red that I used for the Heartbreaker eyes, but I think it turned out just looking amazing. I love this figure. This is the best custom I've done, obviously. And there we are. There is the final figure in front of the Imaginators. Like I said, the paint was a little too thick, but I think it was a very good job. One last thing before story time. So this is actually the Eruptor figure that I did my very first custom in early 2013. A weird thing to note is I did that custom before Volcanic Eruptor was a thing. But yeah, so crazy. It looks so much like the Volcanic variant. But yeah, this is my first custom versus the Heartbreaker figure. So now time for the story time. So if you don't know Pirate Dad, he and Gibby the Broken Collector, make sure to go check them out. We're actually able to purchase a Heartbreaker Buckshot and the 5 unreleased creation crystals last week. And unfortunately, this announcement by Pirate Dad and Gibby was done 2 days after I finished my custom. And I noticed with the bow and the horns, they're a little bit of a pearl color. But congratulations to Pirate Dad and Gibby. It is such a rare honor to be able to have these 5 unreleased crystals and that Heartbreaker figure. So now for part 2 of the story, I actually used these 2 NFCs. I got these back in like October. So if you don't know this method, I think it came out about a year and a half, or I think about 2 years ago now. Which how you do it is you put the card to the left on the portal, and right as the magic symbol comes up, you unplug the portal, and then while it's unplugged, you switch the card with the air bypass card that you see on the right, and then you plug the portal back in. And most of the time that ends up working, and your Heartbreaker is in the game. But unfortunately, with this method, the upgrades and the Sky Chi do not save to the figure, since this method is using RAM. But as you can see in a part of my stream, which, by the way, make sure to go check out my Heartbreaker solo stream. It was a lot of fun and a lot of good live stream moments that you have to look back on. But there was an opportunity where if I claimed ownership of the toy while buying the upgrade for this fight specifically, I was actually able to get 2 of the upgrades, and I was able to get his Y attack, like his tertiary. So that was super nice. But once the cutscene was over and the boss fight was over, I lost that upgrade. So, and Sky Chi's, even though it says I have it unlocked, like you can see right here, it says unlock Sky Chi at Shelmont Shores, which I already did like 2 or 3 levels ago in this gameplay. So yeah, it's very buggy of a process, but actually while I was in the development, like the week of for this stream, something amazing happened. So when the Heartbreaker figure was announced by Pirate Dad and Gibby, a former employee of Toys for Bob were able to work with the reverse engineers within the Skylanders community to get the Heartbreaker files out to everyone and was able to file dump them. This was a huge deal within the Skylanders community because we actually had a Heartbreaker file that worked in game, that was not glitchy, and it works normally, you know, his upgrades save, everything saves. But unfortunately, this was one day before my stream happened, and I don't have an NFC reader or writer, so I stuck with the error bypass method for my stream. It's honestly crazy that I might be the last person to use the error bypass method, at least on camera. Crazy coincidence that over 9.5 years that the actual Heartbreaker figure would come out and the file dump would come out within the same week of me planning the stream. But honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better way because I think it helped my stream and everyone's interest in Heartbreaker that weekend. So I've loved doing this custom. I love doing this stream. Make sure to check it out. Like I said before, what an amazing character. You know, the only Skylander that was scrapped that late into development, we're able to finally get him. So make sure to check out the file dumps. You can see it across Reddit or, like I said, Boombringer's post. Make sure to go check out Boombringer. And yeah, that's it for me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. See ya.